Nashville, Tennessee. The year is 1965. We are standing inside the Ryman Auditorium. To the outside world, this is just a building, but to the people of the South, to the people who built this country with dirt under their fingernails and prayers on their lips, this is not just a building. This is the mother church of country music, the Grand Ole Opry. It is a place of rules, a place of tradition. Men wear ties, women wear modest dresses. You do not curse, you do not drink, and you certainly do not disrespect the stage. But on this particular hot, sticky night in July, there is a man standing in the wings who does not care about your rules. He does not care about tradition. He's dressed in a long black coat that looks like it belongs to a funeral director or a gunslinger from 100 years ago. His eyes, they are dilated, wide, wild. His jaw is clenched so tight you can see the muscles working under his skin. Sweat is pouring down his forehead, soaking his collar, even though he hasn't sung a single note yet. His name is Johnny Cash, and in about 5 minutes, he's gonna do something that'll get him banned from this holy place for the rest of his life. He's gonna commit the ultimate sin in the eyes of the establishment. But to understand why he picked up that microphone stand, to understand why he smashed those lights, we have to go back. We have to look at what was happening in the veins of the man in black. You see, in 1965, Johnny Cash was the biggest star in America, but he was also a dying man. He wasn't dying of cancer or heart disease. He was dying of a slow chemical suicide. Amphetamines, barbiturates, dexedrine to get up, Equinil to come down, a handful of pills for breakfast, another handful to get through the show, and a bottle of whiskey to forget it all at night. He was a walking skeleton. He weighed less than 200 pounds. He looked like a ghost, and his voice, that deep, booming voice, was starting to crack under the weight of his demons. The Grand Ole Opry management knew this. They were nervous. They didn't like wild types. They preferred the clean-cut boys. But Johnny sold tickets. Johnny sold records, so they made a deal with the devil. They invited him to perform, but they had a warning for him. Before the show, a manager, a man in a stiff suit who probably never worked a day of hard labor in his life, walked up to Johnny. He looked at Johnny's shaking hands. He smelled the stale smoke and the chemical sweat on him, and he said, "John, keep it clean tonight. We have families out there. Do your songs. Don't talk too much. And for God's sake, don't do anything stupid. We don't want your lifestyle spilling on our stage." Johnny didn't say a word. He just stared at the man with those dark, shark-like eyes. But inside, a fuse had been lit. Johnny walked onto the stage. The crowd erupted. They loved him. They screamed for the Folsom Prison blues. They screamed for "I Walk the Line." But Johnny wasn't hearing the applause. He was hearing the voice of that manager. Keep it clean. Don't do anything stupid. He felt like an animal in a cage. He looked out at the lights, those bright, blinding footlights at the front of the stage. They were shining right up into his face, burning his eyes, interrogating him. To Johnny, in his drug-fueled paranoia, those lights weren't just bulbs. They were the eyes of the establishment. They were the eyes of every hypocrite who judged him, every police officer who arrested him, every warden who locked him up. He started playing, but his fingers were slipping. The rhythm was aggressive, angry. He wasn't playing the guitar, he was attacking it. And then something snapped. He stopped singing in the middle of a verse. The band faltered, confused. The audience went silent. You could hear a pin drop in that massive auditorium. Johnny unhooked the microphone from its stand. He held the heavy iron stand in his hand. He tested its weight. He looked at the manager in the wings, eyes wide with fear. Johnny smiled, a cold, terrifying smile. He dragged the microphone stand across the floor. Scrape, scrape. He walked to the edge of the stage, right where those blinding lights were, and then he swung. The first light exploded. Glass shattered into the front row. Sparks flew. The crowd gasped. This wasn't part of the show. The second light, gone. The darkness started to creep onto the stage. Johnny was breathing heavy now. He was swinging with the fury of a man possessed. He wasn't just breaking glass, he was breaking his chains. He went down the line, one by one, destroying the property of the Grand Ole Opry, destroying the sanctity of the church. When the last light was broken, the stage was dim. Johnny stood there, surrounded by broken glass, heaving. The silence was deafening. The manager ran out from the side, his face red with rage. He shouted, "You are done, you hear me, Cash? You are done. You can't just break our lights because you're high. Who do you think you are?" Johnny turned to him. He was calm now. The anger was gone, replaced by a strange clarity. He walked up to the man, looked him dead in the eye, and whispered the words that would become legend. He said, "I didn't break your lights because I'm high. I broke them because they were blinding me from seeing the people. And if you care more about your glass bulbs than you do about the song, then I don't belong here anyway." He dropped the mic stand. Clang. He turned his back on the Opry, walked off the stage, got into his car, and drove into the night. He wouldn't step foot on that stage again for years. The lights were broken. The stage was empty. But for Johnny Cash, the darkness was just beginning. Getting banned from the Grand Ole Opry wasn't just a career move, it was an exile. He had been kicked out of the family, and like a prodigal son with no home to return to, Johnny spiraled. The years that followed 1965 were the wilderness years. The pills stopped being a crutch and became a necessity. He was getting arrested in El Paso. He was starting forest fires in California. He was a man running a race against his own shadow, and the shadow was winning. It got so bad that one day Johnny decided to check out, not from a hotel, but from life. He drove to Nickajack Cave, a massive labyrinthine cavern system in Tennessee. He parked his car, grabbed a flashlight, and walked inside. He didn't plan on coming out. He crawled deeper and deeper into the tightest, darkest crevices where the sun's light hadn't touched for 1,000,000 years. He turned off his flashlight, and he lay there to die. He lay there in the absolute pitch black, waiting for the end, waiting for the drugs or the dehydration to take him. But in that darkness, the same darkness he claimed on the opera stage, he didn't find death. He found something else. He felt a strange sense of peace, a clarity he hadn't felt in a decade. He felt God. He realized that dying was easy. Living was the hard part. And Johnny Cash was many things, but he wasn't a coward. He crawled out. It took him hours. He scraped his skin. He broke his nails, but he clawed his way back to the light. When he emerged from that cave, he was dirty, bloody, and exhausted, but he was alive. Waiting for him on the other side was June Carter.
We cannot tell the story of the man in black without the woman who brought the color back to his cheeks. June wasn't just a lover, she was a warrior. She would flush his pills down the toilet. She would stand in front of the door with a shotgun if she had to keep the dealers away. With June's help, Johnny got clean. The fog lifted, and when the fog lifted, Johnny looked around at the music industry and realized nothing had changed. They still wanted him to be a polished pop star, but Johnny had an idea so crazy, so dangerous, that his record label, Columbia, begged him not to do it. He said, "I don't want to record in a studio. I don't want to record at the Opry. I want to record in a prison." The executives laughed. "A prison? Johnny, you're a star. You don't play for murderers and thieves." And Johnny smiled, that same smile he had when he smashed the lights. He said, "Those murderers and thieves are the only ones who understand what I'm singing about."